Hello and welcome back to another Gunpla review. Today we're taking a look at the high-grade Universal Sentry, Char's Gelgoog, the penultimate suit of the infamous Red Comet. But let's not waste time talking about the pilot. Let's have a look at the suit, starting, as always, with the articulation. Now, starting off with the head, I did snip the pegs to make this easier to take off, but it's because that you can actually... It's very tight on mine. Let's try and actually turn it. You can turn the eye, it's just not very easy. There we go. See? Thankfully they refined this a lot later on when they started doing the newer Zaku's and such with just a little tab underneath that you can turn, and it's also a lot looser. But fact is, you can actually turn the eye, which is nice. And no, it's not quite lined up. Give me a moment. Alright, that took longer than expected, but we're back. And it does have a single ball joint going into the body, which means it doesn't get a ton of movement, but it gets a little up and down, left and right, so it's useful. The shoulders are on a sort of a polycap, but it is still the old peg style shoulder. That said, it can get pretty well to the front and the back. It's not actually that bad. You can get the arm across the chest, so no real complaints there. The shoulder armor is actually a separate piece, and you can get well above 90 degrees out, and full rotation on the peg, obviously. Speaking of full rotation, you get a full rotation at the upper arm, just 90 degrees at the elbow, but it is a solid 90 degrees, and as always, a ball joint at the wrist. Now, as for the waist, this is actually really impressive. It has a ball joint up here, meaning that it gets left and right a lot, forward really well, and really far to the back. Just a rotation at the waist, but honestly, given the actual design, I can't really see them doing much more than that anyway. And it doesn't actually impede the motion, so no real complaints. The skirts, you might think are fairly solid, but they're on ball joints, which means they can get completely out of the way. Unfortunately, the hips are also on ball joints, so you're not going to get a lot of movement out of those. Thankfully, they are on a slight rocking joint inside, so you do get a little bit more out of them. But that said, they get as far back as the rear skirt, which is obviously static, will allow them. About that far up without moving these, and then when you pop them up, of course, all the way up, no problems there. Unfortunately, again, because of the ball joint, only about 45 degrees out to the side. Thankfully, that's made up for by the absolutely insane knee bend that this thing gets. Like, seriously, look. It's almost a full bend, and this is a 2006 kit. That's really impressive. And the ankle, not amazing. I mean, if you squeeze it fast, you get a really, really ridiculous movement out to the front. But it's not great. But it's actually just the actual design of the suit. The Gelgoog has the same sort of flared bottom that the Dom does, so it doesn't really get a lot. It's mostly just scraping against the ground with this. It's not the foot's problem. It's the massive bell bottoms that it has, but even then it still gets really nice posing. So really the only complaint I have about the articulation is that it only has a single jointed elbow, but that was standard for the time, so I can't really complain. Now moving on to accessories, and let's start out with the stickers. Just the eye stickers, and they do give you one with the black background and also just the eye. Now I'll get into the painting later, but yeah, I did use the eye sticker. Now moving on to the accessories, let's start off with the old style splayed hand, which I actually really like and wish they would bring back. It's very expressive, and the sculpt is pretty nice, honestly. Then you have the trigger finger hand, and the only thing that it's going to be holding, so I didn't bother taking it off. The rifle, which, as you'll notice, a little bit loose. It's not actually that bad when you have this up against the arm. It tends to stay in place, but it's not exactly a very tight fit. In fact, I would probably recommend maybe a little bit of tape or something in between these just to keep it in place a bit better, but it's not too big a deal. Next up we have the shield, which is just two pieces. The gray on the outside and then this sort of yellow-orange. And in the shield, in this little clip piece, you do get the beam Naginata, but you do actually get two specific blades for that, and it's a little bit long. Let me try and get it in frame. Yeah, this is a huge weapon. It's almost it's almost 1.5 times the size of the actual Gelgoog. It looks really, really imposing in the hand, and yeah, it's good. It's really well scaled. Also, it looks quite nice. I'm genuinely quite happy with how the sort of semi-transparent on the blades looks. Slightly foggy, kind of looks like the old animation. And also, sorry, I bumped the camera there. And also, this can move up for some reason. Don't know why. There's a little lip on this ball joint here, which it's collapsed in now, but it is actually a ball joint. You get full range on it, and that little like secondary step there actually plugs into this on the back. You don't need this peg. I don't really know why that folds out like that, especially since this is the one that goes on here. So, also speaking of that, peg here does actually plug onto the arm. It's not a super tight connection, thankfully, but it's tight enough that it stays on perfectly fine. And since it's on a ball joint, you have pretty limitless posability with it, honestly. Also, I just want to quickly bring up the Polycap Runner, because you get a lot of spares, including this one, which I have no idea what that would be used for, but a lot of these peg-style ones, and also a bunch of these C's, which are used for the shoulder, which is nice, since I kind of feel like those are going to wear out earlier on than the rest of them. Now, moving on to the painting. Not actually that much. This kit is actually pretty much almost entirely color accurate. The only thing obviously is the black for the eye. It's using this dark gray that's used on the legs. So you're going to want to paint that in black. The cockpit hatch on the stomach is this more salmon pink. It's supposed to be this lighter pink. As well as the scope, which is the same shade of pink. That's just all gray plastic, so you're gonna have to paint that on, and yeah, it took a few coats. And finally, the big one, the entire inside of the shield is this yellow-orange and needs to be gray. So yeah, this was not fun to hand brush, and you can kind of see a few brush strokes here and there, but I think I'm on all right. Yeah, this is definitely more of an airbrush job, but I like hand brushing, so. And that's it. Everything else is color separated. Granted, not a lot of color on this anyway, so no surprise, but the gray on the inside of these arm bits is actually a separate piece. Which they could have easily had that be stickers, but they didn't, and I appreciate it. Now moving on to a quick size comparison, and this is a very bulky suit. It's not super tall, but wow, it's wide. It's at least 1.5 times as wide as the RX-78. It's noticeably bigger than the Zanku. So to wrap this review up, yeah, I actually really recommend getting a Gelgoog. If not Char's, then the Canon, same mold. Really, the only complaint I have with this kit is the single jointed elbows, and I mean, that's hardly its own fault that all kits at the time pretty much had single jointed elbows. This kit has incredible articulation and pretty much perfect color separation too. You really don't have to do very much work on this. This is a really excellent kit, and I like it a lot. More than I even thought I would, and I already thought I would like it a lot, so yeah, full recommendations from me. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for future reviews. Hit that bell, apparently that's important. And feel free to watch my backlog. And as always, until next time, happy building.